Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afker, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness. Happy to connect with you, whether on the live call or the replay. And also really excited that Dr. Lisa Bogue is with us for the first time on the show. And also really excited about the subject because I feel it's very important theme. We don't talk a lot about it, and it's an essential part of the collective shift that we are experiencing as humanity. So the subject is preparing to the galactic reunion, and how, like, the opportunity is that the current energies and the shifts that we are experiencing, the opportunity is that these energies are bringing to us to remember our true self as divine beings, and really help us to navigate this shift as we are approaching open contact and remembering our connection to other galactic beings. And also, Lisa will be talking about dissolving old world attachments and rewiring for light with the Galactic Akashic Council. And and also we'll have a Q&A where you can ask her your questions. So as always, if you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand by pressing react or reaction, then raise hand. If you are on the phone, you can press *9. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. And for those of you who are new to Dr. Lisa, she is a psychotherapist and Akashic record consultant. So so with that, Lisa, welcome to the show. Very happy to have you with us.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
So in the beginning, I would love if you can tell us about yourself and the work you are offering.
Sure.
Thank
So my day job is as a psychiatrist and psychotherapist in Canada. And the way that I got to be working in the Akashic Record is by always asking the question of how we can truly heal. And I'm sure many of you have noticed that sometimes medicine um, doesn't really have that lens, right? I thought naively that it would. I thought, oh, I'll go into medicine, I'll learn how to heal. No, you learn lots of things, and lots of those are really good things. I always felt like there was something missing, though. So I went on and I trained in psychiatry, and then I did psychoanalytic training for 4 years, and I still felt like there's just something really important that's missing. And then it just happened. I was at a wedding and saw a book written by a shamanic healer. And so I took that training. And in the very first class, he talked about how we can heal at 4 different levels. So we can heal at the level of the physical, the level of the mental and emotional, but also at the level of the soul and the spirit, which is in the energy. And they don't talk about those two parts in medical school at all. So then I went on this quest of over a decade to learn about what does it mean to consider the soul in healing. And so that led me through many, many more trainings, but eventually to working in the Akashic record, which is like the record of the soul. And and not only the soul in the past, but the present and the future. So there's so much that we can learn from there. So when I was preparing for this, I thought, oh, I'll do a talk I did last week or the week before. I was like, no, 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 you won't. So the record keepers were showing me this. We were talking about the year of 2026 and what is that meaning for us all? Because there's a lot going on that brings up a lot of questions for all of us. And so they were talking about the energies that are coming in and the changes in the Schumann resonance and all that's happening on the collective stage and how these energies are a little different in 2026. So they're of a higher vibration, but they're also more galactic. So they're more in vibrational attunement with energies in the galaxy in a larger way. So they're of a wider width, they showed me as well, and have the capacity to increase our vision, right? To increase the way that we look at things so that we can see a bigger picture, and also to bring us into closer proximity to our friends in the wider galaxy. So, well, that's very, very exciting. And another thing they showed me about that that I hadn't thought of is that the crystalline grid of Earth. So we talk a lot about how we've moved from connecting to the 3D grid to the 5D crystalline grid. And they talked about how this actually connects to a galactic crystalline grid. And so one of the things in the special offer package B is a meditation to connect to that galactic grid. But what this all also means for us as humans is that the energies have an unprecedented impact of loosening up all of the old holds, right? So all of the things that we have been so attached to that have attached us to that old 3D grid and that old 3D world, it's kind of like, so the image they showed me is like if you imagine a stone house that's made from stones that are all connected with mortar. And if you imagine trying to pull that house apart, that's a lot of work, right? Because it's all stuck. It's been there for a long time. And what 2026 is going to be like is like an earthquake. So it's like an earthquake that kind of breaks all that apart and makes it much easier to pull those stones apart and build something else with them. So they talked about the stone house in this case, they talked about our four kind of pillars of the old world paradigm. So four old belief systems that really hold the whole thing in place. And because the universe is holographic, and from the Emerald tablets, we know as within, so without. So we have these four paradigms in the collective that hold that in place. Those paradigms also live within each of us. And the cool thing about that is that if we work on those paradigms within ourselves, then they loosen for the collective. So sometimes we think, oh, I'm just one person. What power do I have to facilitate this change in consciousness? Or what power do I have to make the world different or better? Especially in the face of everything that's happening, right? And it can seem pretty hopeless and we can feel pretty small. But the reason I love this idea is that, and they've shown me this, that anything you do to loosen your investment in any of these paradigms weakens the whole paradigm. So they show me like the paradigm actually shrinks and becomes weaker. And so if you think of these paradigms as like pillars, as soon as you weaken them, the whole structure falls down, right? So you don't need a wrecking ball, right? You just need little weak points at strategic intervals and the whole thing will fall. So what they asked us to work on is kind of deconstructing these belief systems and shifting, like letting go of that old energy so that we're open to those new energies and open more easily to embodying more of those galactic aspects of ourselves. Because there's, we think of the galaxies out there, those galactic energies is out there, but there are also aspects of us always that are in those higher dimensions. And so another part of this opportunity is that we have the opportunity to embody more of those higher dimensional parts of ourselves. But that's harder to do if we're hanging on to these old belief systems. So think of these old pillars like a lamppost on a street. So if you're walking down the street, you know, at a wandering pace, you can put your hand out and touch the lamppost, and you can even like wander around it. You can do a little dance like Fred Astaire, like Simon and Garfunkel, right? You can do all that if you're walking. But if you're in a car and the car's going fast, you can't be hanging on to the lamppost, right? You're going to wreck your arm. And so these pillars are like that. Like we just can't be holding on to them and moving forward into these new energies. So it's time to break those things up and let go of them so that we can be connected more to those newer energies of ourselves, or new for us anyway. So the four pillars that they wanted me to, do you have anything before I go on and talk about what those four pillars are?
Um, no, actually, no. Yeah, I will wait later to ask a question. Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. So the four pillars that they would like us to deconstruct are, the first one is the whole one of self-judgment, limitation, unworthiness, that whole bucket of things, right? And we all have all kinds of examples of that. So that's the one that we're going to work on today together. And then the next three are part of my special offer again. Is going to be a Zoom series working through each of these. So the second one is scarcity. And so scarcity is kind of a sneaky one because it seems like it's just I don't have enough. And it's for sure that, which is kind of connected to I'm not enough, which is what the first one is. But the thing about scarcity is that it can motivate a lot of not our best choices, right? So when my son was young enough to still live at home, we would watch all these detective shows together. And almost every single one of them, when the bad guy would get caught, the person who had murdered someone or stolen something or whatever they had done, they would always be confronted. And every single time they would say, but I had no choice. And I would be yelling at the TV, of course you had a choice. Think of 10 choices you had, right? So I learned that bad guys are not very flexible thinkers, right? But also that are the bad choices that we make, bad, like choices that lead us in not good places, are usually connected to this idea of scarcity, right? Like, I don't have enough, therefore I have to take it. Or if you do that, it will impact me and I won't have enough. And so this idea of scarcity is so fear-based that it really holds a lot of not very helpful vibrations. So scarcity is the second pillar, and they're all related, of course. The third one is power over and power under. So related to scarcity, right? Because we feel like we have to hold on to control and we have to hold on to power. And if we don't have that, then something bad will happen to us, right? We don't want to be the person with no power. And it's interesting because we make an assumption that there has to be a gap, right? We make an assumption that power lives in certain places and not other certain places. And given that that is the case, then you want to be the place with the power, right? But of course, it doesn't have to be that way. And in the new paradigm, it's not that way. Power is evenly distributed, right? And it's not about what you do to other people. It's just about who you are. So the whole paradigm around power is one that needs to be shifted and detached from and weakened. And then the fourth one that they talked about was our tendency to be addicted to fear and drama. And I mean, we see this playing out right now really obviously, how when we get taken in by drama and fear and sensationalism, we kind of take our eye off the ball, right? And the other thing it does is it takes us away from our own knowing of the truth, right? So and it connects into fear too, right? Because we think, oh, if that's going on, I have to know about it because I have to know how to protect myself. And so the fear kind of feeds the attachment to the drama, and the attachment to drama takes us completely out of the truth of who we are, right? And then when people tell us the truth, and we see this now, right? You can tell people the truth and they don't believe it. They say, no, that can't be it. It's this. It's like, so there's this whole addiction to drama and fear that also underpins a lot of the power of that third dimensional energy that needs to be shifted. So those are the four paradigms. And it's important because, of course, none of them are the truth, right? They're constructs that we play with in the third dimension. So if you imagine like the construct of short and tall, right? That's something that we play with in the third dimension. Some are short, some are tall, right? But as soon as you don't have a body, short and tall are meaningless, right? So they really only mean anything in the third dimension. And so these paradigms are like that, right? They're just constructs we've played with, but they don't work in the energy we're moving into. And so, like the lamppost, time to let go. Right. So today, what we're going to do is focus on the paradigm of judgment. And so we're going to do two things. The first thing we're going to do is to deconstruct that just kind of logically so that our mind has a different way to think about it. And then the second thing we're going to do is go through a process like a meditation to help let go of it and bring in the energy of a different way of seeing and feeling about it. Any questions from you before I go on to that?
Yeah. First, thank you. Thank you very much. That was everything you shared. And maybe it's not a question, just a comment, because you talked about addiction and addicted to drama and fear. And also by experience and also noticing others, I find sometimes it's just asking ourselves, is this because I'm used to this kind of energy? Like asking ourselves if this is who I am, is this my truth? It just helps us to realize that maybe this is just old energy that we are used to, and it just getting played on the background automatically and unconsciously.
Yeah, absolutely. It
Yeah.
just becomes habit, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to know what's in the news. But
Yeah.
the news is very geared to that kind of paradigm, right?
Yeah, because this is what attracts people. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Gets clicks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So
Okay.
yeah.
So
Would
judgment.
you like to share more about the subject?
Yeah.
Or
Let's
yeah,
let go of
please.
judgment, shall we? Let's deconstruct this sucker. So, if you think about judgments, say that we have about ourselves, there's always, again, that as within, so without. So, there's always the paradigm to the outer world. But if we look at it inside of us, when we have a judgment about ourselves, so say the judgment, I should be quiet, not take up too much space, right? If you think about that judgment, it comes from somewhere, right? And the problem is that we practice these judgments of ourselves so much that we forget to even be curious about where they came from. We just accept them as true and move on. But if you think about it, that comes from somewhere, right? So, a kind of mild example is when I was little, my mother often had a headache. So, if I came in the house all excited about something, the response I would get would be, can you be quiet, please? My head hurts, right? And so I learn, okay, I get along better with the adults in my world if I'm kind of quiet. So I developed my therapist voice, became a therapist, and use that voice forever. Right? Be quiet, right? And of course, that's a fairly benign example, but there's lots less benign examples of how we learn that kind of idea, right? And then, of course, it's repeated over and over and over. So we get the idea I need to be quiet. And so we have this judgment of ourselves if we're anything different than that, right? So even just there, as I'm raising my voice, I'm going, oh, is that going to be too loud? Is that going to hurt people's ears? Is that going to. So we have all this discomfort with being a different way than how we've been conditioned to be. But if you think about where that conditioning came from, it comes from an interaction with another human. And in this case, a human with a headache, right? One human with a headache, right? So not the totality even of that human, and one human, not all humans, and yet we generalize it, right? So I take, oh, I should be quiet, as if that one human is all humans and the whole world, and every human in the world always has a headache. Right? it's It's preposterous when you break it down. It can't be true, right? And even when it's a more nefarious kind of interaction, because lots of them are, right? Those really awful interactions happen with a human who's really struggling. They're not in their best self at all. And everybody's struggles are a little bit different. And some people are relatively less struggly. So the thing that made that one human in our life kind of back off or made them approve of us is not the same thing that's going to make every other human approve of us. And then on top of that, there's the assumption we need anyone else's approval, right? Because in truth, we don't need that either. When we're kids, it kind of helps, right? As grown-ups, we don't need other people's approval, right? So there are all of these assumptions that go into the judgments we make of ourselves. And then connected to that is also this assumption about, well, if I'm quiet, that will keep me safe, right? Then then my mother will not be angry with me because she has a headache and I'm yelling. So if I'm quiet, I'm safer. I'm not making people angry, right? So again, whatever judgment you tend to hold about yourself, it's usually connected to an assumption of safety, right? That if I please the adult in my midst, then I will be safe because that adult will be happier with me, right? And sometimes it really is about physical safety, right? And sometimes it's more emotional safety. And sometimes it's more generalized, right? But if we really look at that assumption, right, that pleasing other people makes us safe, the problem with that is that as an adult, what pretzeling ourselves to please other people actually does is it creates a prison, right? So we're acting based on the assumption that it keeps us safe when it really makes us unsafe in a different way, right? Because it's a prison. It confines us and it keeps us from being the truth of who we are. And it's not really safe. And especially not if you think of safety from the perspective of the soul, right? Because why does the soul come here? The soul comes here to play and to experience and to grow, right? To connect, to do all this fun stuff that you can't do without a body. And so it's not safe at all for the soul to be in a prison trying to be quiet, right? That's not safe at all. But we assume it is, right? So when we hold on to this old paradigm belief, all these judgments of ourselves, we're holding on to a whole bunch of flawed assumptions that we're not even questioning. And we're assuming that that makes us safe, which it doesn't even really. Because what actually, if you think about it, what actually makes us safe is being present, right? Because when, as an adult, again, you get to choose who you interact with and what room you're in, essentially. And the thing that helps you to know what room you want to be in is being present, right? And being connected to yourself and your own knowing and your guidance. Because when you're connected to yourself and your guidance, you walk in the room. If you don't want to be in that room, you know immediately. Oh, that doesn't feel great. Right? Gonna exit. And that's all it has to be, right? Because you're tuned in and listening to yourself. So the thing that actually keeps us safe in the world is is presence and listening to ourself and being ourself. And that's what this paradigm of judgment keeps us away from. Make sense? Okay. Does anyone have questions about that before we do the process?
Yeah, so everyone, if you want to ask your question, you can raise your hand by pressing react, then raise hand on Zoom, and star 9 on the phone. And also you can type your questions on the chat. Iriata on YouTube, she wrote beautiful interview. And MS Almeida wrote agree 100% with a heart. Yeah. Let's see. So, can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, Moniseth. Hi,
Sue.
my name is Sue. My question is, you made a comment about the Galactic Akashic records. Are they different than the spiritual Akashic records?
So I will tell you my experience. So my experience was that one day I was in my Akashic record asking questions, and my relationship with my record is kind of it's like place location based. So when they want to talk to me about a certain kind of thing, they take me to a certain kind of place. So this one day, in my mind's eye, they whisk me off planet and they take me to this other place. Often they'll take me to these big meetings off planet.
Mm-hmm.
And so they took me off planet to this place and there was a meeting. And then after the meeting, they took me down this hallway and down some stairs into this big room. And they said, "This is the Galactic Akashic record, and here's your key." So that was how they showed it to me. Another way I think of it, though, is because it seems like, so because I've asked them this question about access, right? And it seems like essentially you have access to what's yours, right?
Right.
So the more, it's like if you've had a lot of lifetimes off planet, you have access to that Akash, right? Because it's yours. So it's interesting, right? Because sometimes people will wonder about, do I have permission to access this record or that record? What I
Right.
find is that if you go into your own record, then they'll lead you to wherever you need to be. That's yours, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's anything that's yours is in your record anyway, even if it is more galactic, but that's how they kind of showed me the visualization of it.
So then would the galactic star beings come for you if they want you to do the Galactic Akashic records?
Yeah, they'll show up in a different way. So oftentimes too, I find if there's a certain kind of project you're working on, that there's a council related to that. So they've shown up to me as this Galactic Akashic Council. And they often, if I'm looking for a meditation, so this process that we're going to do, they've given me this process. So they'll show up kind of at a table and introduce me to everybody at the table. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've always, when I went into the records, it's like I go into a library and sit at a table with a bunch of people. And it's like, let's review this. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
I mean, I do see some of the star beings, and they don't look like, the angelic realm. They look way different. But I never knew there were, that they could come to and do records with you. I was never aware of that.
When you just go in your record and show up, all kinds of things happen.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put
Well,
stuff
happy you're
in
here.
sometimes. Now, if I know with like the star family type of thing, the one wherever, like everybody says you're like star beings and stuff. Now, would they kind of come, when you have to go into the Akashic records, like let's say your star family, would they be basically the ones that come and direct you?
It depends. There are beings of light who keep the records, and they're distinct from your family of any kind, right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they're like librarians or keepers of the record.
Right.
But then,
Right.
of
Usually
course, you
those
also
are the
have
ones
star family.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
That way I'll know the difference.
There you go.
Thank you very much, and blessings to you. And thank you, Moniseth, and blessings to you, and lots of love also.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Sue. And yeah, thank you, Lisa, for the guidance. And we have Tanya. Can you please unmute yourself?
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Lisa.
Hi.
Question is such a question that I wanted to understand for myself. If we are all star seeds, and we came to the planet Earth, and we stuck in these loops of reincarnation for thousands of years. I mean, I don't know. I was told that I'm very old soul. So is it my choice that I'm stuck here and reincarnating? Or I need to kind of awaken to that level that I can leave if I want to? How does it work?
Yeah, it's it's tricky, right? Because I think a
It
lot
is.
of us came in and thought, oh, we'll just sort this out and we'll be off, right? No. Millennia later, here we are still, right? But this point in time right now is a huge opportunity, right? This is a time when you can when so much can be cleared and healed so much faster and so much more easily than it used to be. Partly because the veil is thinner and we have access to these higher dimensions. We have access to the Akashic record again, right? We have access to these resources that we were kind of cut off from for a while. So if you're wanting to transcend the karmic loop, this is the time to do it for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it wasn't my choice then. I'm just stuck. But not only
Well,
mine, but it
it is
looks
and it
like it.
isn't, right? Like we choose to come here and we choose to
Hmm.
accomplish certain things, and then we kind of it's kind of like we go off on these side missions, and then we have to remediate the side mission, and on it
Okay.
goes, right? So it's kind of it's our choice if we're still here, right? And I
Okay.
think it feels like so much of life happens to us, and we're the ones that are choosing to be here and have the adventure, right? And so
Okay.
the more that we can say, okay, yeah, I chose it. What am I going to choose now? Because that's where the power is, right? In remembering
Oh,
that
yes.
you get to choose now, right? Yeah. And that's
Yes.
part of the
Good
importance of dissolving
idea.
the attachment to these old paradigms, right? So that you can be in that place
Yeah.
of, what am I choosing now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's more clear for me now.
Yeah. Thank you, Tanya. And thank you, Lisa, for the guidance. We have Deborah. Can you please unmute yourself?
There, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. Hi, Dr.
Hi.
Lisa and Monsa. This is so great, so exciting to be on this. I think I've really just woken up in the last year. Um, so this is very exciting. Your whole intro of yourself. I thought, whoa, you've got my heart. The journey that you went on to get to where you are now. Yeah, so because I'm feeling new to this, I think I have the understanding or recognition that I've had quite a few galactic lives already. I know maybe a few of them. I haven't gotten into my Akashic records, and would that be the best directive for me to try access those on my own, or what do you recommend? And yeah, I'm feeling like I'm going on mission every night, but I have no clue what that's all about. And I've felt that
Oh.
probably for about 4 or 5 years already now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It
So
sounds both exciting and exhausting.
you know what? I think I've just it's amazing that yeah, it's probably about 4 hours of sleep a night for quite a long, year and a half or so now. But I think I just came to that. If I'm not exhausted, I don't sleep during the day. It's just this is me, and just
Wow.
come into agreement. So actually, they're covering me very well, I would say. That's my
Awesome.
experience. Yeah. But I feel like there's so much that I don't know. And yes, I came and experienced a lot so that I would have some compassion and understanding and releasing of past traumas that affect a lot of people. So,
Mm-hmm.
so my question is just sort of, how do I go forward from here? Right? Like, how do I expand my understanding more of right now? The now is the precious, the presence, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a very exciting place to be, Billy. So what I'm seeing is like there's like 4 branches, right? And so it's like there are different paths, right? And hmm, for me, I always chose based on my curiosity, right? So it's like, what is my question today? What's the next question that I want to explore, right? And then I would find teachers that explored that question that felt resonant with me, right? So
Are you
so
meaning
when I
family
right,
teachers? Are you meaning physically teachers, or are you meaning galactic family teachers
oh,
connecting?
well, there are both. There are both, right? And so sometimes it's nice to have a combination. To have it's a big have a big team, right? Have some people in the physical and some up there, right? Yeah. So yeah, see what your question is. So when I learned to work in the Akashic Record, I was curious about past lives at that time, right? I now understand the Akashic Record to be so much broader than that, right? So many more kinds of questions that you can address. So it depends what your question is.
Okay, so
So
that you've got me curious there. The Akashic records, yes, I think of them as past lives as well. So, but you say there's so much more that you can
there,
address.
yeah, there's so much more. You can get guided. I go in, I get guidance like moment to moment. Every decision I make, what's in the highest? What's in the highest, right? And they've shown me a lot this past year or two that in the third dimension, we used to think of like the ideal life as this white, I call it the white picket fence life. Right? Go to school at this age, get married at this age, have this 2.2 children and right? All of that, right? And if that ever was true, it's certainly not anymore, right? There's so many different kinds of lives that you can have and have had. And so what they've shown me is that what's right for each person is different, and it's based on your soul's path, your soul trajectory, right? So that what's right for one person and what's right for another, even in the same situation, can be completely different, or the same age, or the right. So it's like no one else can know for you because you're your own person and you have your own cool trajectory. You've done all these amazing things and you have your own questions. And so what I've found is like I'm going to do my next course I'm going to do is around navigating in the new paradigm. So it's this whole question of like how do you navigate when all the old rules are gone, right? And so one of the most important things is just listen to your questions. Get clear about your question and let the question guide you. Like the question for me that guided me to here was, how can we heal? Right? So what's
Right.
your question? And then see where that leads you.
I think even in the non-remembering, I was very much programmed to distraction and to not ever find out, of course, as many, right? So yeah, it's probably still a little in the new stage of finding my question. But I was going to ask you when I asked you about past lives, if there's more, I was going to say, oh, so tell me about where the future goes. But you have already answered that based on just changing your questions. So that was very lovely what you shared. Good advice for the stage I'm at. Thank you, Lisa. You're really hey, this I get these words that just drop down and sometimes they feel like they're not. I was going to say enchanting, but you know what? You really are. You bring a magic and an awe and a wonder of all that's yet to be. That's what's dropped in my heart. Thank you so much. Thank you, Monsa.
Absolutely. Happy you're here.
Me too.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Deborah. And yeah, thank you, Lisa, for the guidance. And we have Linda. Can you please unmute yourself?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
My question
Yes.
was about soul retrieval. I had a healing with a Barbara Brennan healer, and it felt like I went out into the universe and she brought part of me back to myself, and it felt like galaxies upon galaxies that were out there, and she pulled that back in. And I was wondering how that perhaps worked with the Akashic records.
Yeah, that's a neat question. It's interesting because I trained with Lisa Barnett, and she doesn't really talk about it in those words, but you can do all manner of kinds of healing in the record, which again was a thing I didn't know when I signed up, but found so cool when I found out. So any any healing that needs to be done again begins with a question. It begins with like if you take the medical model, it comes with a symptom, right? So again, if you follow the symptom and you take this symptom into the record and say, here's the thing I have a question about, or I would like some help with, they'll bring whatever needs to be done. The other cool thing about soul retrieval, because I learned to do it from a more shamanic perspective. You can also do, what they showed me though is you can also then later trained in tapping, and the same thing can happen with tapping. Like it can happen with any kind of healing you do, and it can also happen spontaneously as you heal the issues that are keeping that part separate from you. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. So you can do it specifically and purposely soul retrieval, but if you keep working on yourself and addressing the questions that come up, it will also happen spontaneously. So, and then also in the record, any question that you have, you can go into the record and do healing work with, and they'll bring you whatever you need. Yeah, it's really cool because you don't have to know, right? You just go and say, "Here's my thing," and then the record keepers are so lovely. They'll show you what the issue is and what can be done about it. So when I'm doing consultations for other people, I think of myself just as the narrator, right? It's like, oh, there they are. Here's what they're doing. Oh, they have this really cool vacuum. Oh, and today they're working with pixels, and like they do it differently every time, but it's really always cool to see. Yeah,
Thank you, Lisa.
you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for calling in. And Lisa, can we take 2 more questions before we move to the next part? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Rita, can you please unmute yourself?
Yes, hello. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank
Hello.
you, Monta, for this opportunity. I tuned in a little bit late, so apologies if something has been covered already. I've only had one Akashic reading, and the person who helped me access that right away said, oh, there's a very, very, very strong fairy presence coming in. And I was given a bit of guidance, if you will, and some instruction on maybe how to access that aspect of who I am or was or can be. And I'm just, I know I'm very, very earth based in terms of feeling very strongly about the environment and how humans can be so unmannerly. But I'm wondering if there's some additional insight that you may have that I can bring forward what is wanting to be embraced in terms of who I am, that maybe has been pushed aside or disregarded or, hidden away. Thank you.
So I always think of like these two approaches. So I think of it like the gas and the brake. So the gas is like, if you want to embody more of that part of yourself, how do you do that, right? So, I mean, you can do it from a point of view of like working your record and connecting to that part, or asking about those aspects of those lifetimes, if you think of however you think of it, right? You can do it by, having pictures around you, like I have some beautiful ones that just like have all this sparkly energy that just make you feel that fairy energy, right? So you can listen to music that kind of stimulates that part of you. So there's lots of different things you can do to kind of activate that. And then the break is like the question of what's stopping you from connecting to that, right? And so, which is part of why we're doing this, weakening all these pillars, because they're a big part of what stops us from connecting to those other dimensional aspects of ourselves. So I always think of gas and the brake, right? Things that stimulate that part of us, and then what's getting in the way and holding us down.
Thank you. That's really helpful. So the word that has come up over and over, it seems, is healing, right? And accessing where that break got stuck, perhaps, and how to loosen it up. So thank you so very much. It's like
Welcome.
vehicle maintenance, huh? Every 30,000
Absolutely.
miles. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
You're
Thanks so much.
welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Rita. And thank you, Lisa, for the guidance. So one more question from Annette. Do you use a verbal request to enter the records?
So the way that I was trained was there are certain prayers that are used to access the records. So uh, I tend to be an advocate of train with somebody, right? Train with somebody so that you have a sense of the lay of the land, right? Different people think about that differently. So fair enough. But that's always because you want to kind of know what you're getting into. And you want to know some ways of approaching things. So my point of view would always be train with somebody. The way that I've been taught to do it is through prayers. All of that being said, though, what the record keepers are increasingly showing me is that the heart is a portal. And so if you are really truly in your heart space, then you have access to all the rest of you, right? So another thing that you can do always is to just cultivate that heart-centered space within yourself. And that will facilitate access with the higher realms, with the record. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. And Annette Shirot, thank you. Thank you, Annette, for your question. And yeah, so Lisa, I would love if you can share with us now about the program you are offering, and then after that we'll move to the group process.
Okay.
So I invite everyone to visit the page yourdivineuniqueness.com/Lisa and number 31, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Lisa31, LISA and number 31. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description, and I will put it on the chat boxes. So yeah, so Lisa, I would love if you can tell us about this program.
Sure. So the first package A, is there's two things in that one. One is message given to me from the Galactic Akashic Record about 2026. That's in written form. So that comes with both of the offers. And then the second thing in package A is a Galactic Akashic consultation. So it's an Akashic record session for you. It's a full length one. I don't really like doing the short ones because um, I like getting to the heart of the matter. I've noticed this about me. It's how I got to this place. But how do we really do it? So I like to do it right if I'm there. And so the full session gives us time to do to really address whatever it is that the question is that you're bringing. So package A is that reading with this extra access to the galactic record and any message they have from there for you. And then that message about 2026. Package B includes those two things and also that meditation about collecting to the grid, the crystalline and galactic grid. And then also the workshop series. So today we've worked at deconstructing the paradigm of self-judgment. So the other three that we talked about, so the scarcity, power over and under, and the addiction to drama. We're going to do one workshop each on those. So those will be on Zoom. There's 2 different times to choose from. So whatever time zone you're in, there'll be something that works. So those that workshop series is included in package B, along with the grid meditation, the reading, and the message for 2026. Yeah. All of those things together meant to help you to attune to those galactic energies that are coming in and be able to capacitate that kind of energy moving forward.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. Yeah, for both for being available to our audience with the one-on-one session and also the program with the series, the meditation, and also the attunement. So yeah, thank you very much. And again, everyone, you can find these 2 packages on the page yourdivineuniqueness.com/Lisa and number 31, LISA 31. The link also on the chat boxes, on the website, and on YouTube video description. Yeah. So Jane, she wrote, Lisa, thank you for a wonderful experience and the messages of the 4 pillars. I must go have an appointment. Thank you, Monsef. Yeah, she already left. So yeah, thank you, Jane, if you listen later. Yes, yeah, so Lisa, would you like to do the group process?
Okay, so
Thank you.
on a comfortable spot, ideally with your back straight, however you want to do that. Feet on the floor if they're touching the floor. If they're not, just connect into your connection to the earth. And take a nice deep breath. And then also bring your attention to your connection to the cosmos. Just breathing in that cosmic energy that flows naturally into your field. And the earth energy that flows naturally into your field. And just feeling into the heart space where all of that connects. And where it connects with the energy of you. The now of you, and the past of you, and the future of you. And with the next deep breath, just focus in a little more on that trajectory of you. Who you are now, who you have been, who you're becoming. And now imagine yourself in a big room. And in this room is space for things that look like big old computers from the 70s. And just imagine that each of these big old computers represents an aspect of the paradigm of self-judgment or judgment in general that you're still kind of plugged into. And you might see some other computers strewn about that are aspects of this paradigm you've already detached from. And so if that's the case, yay you. That's awesome. Now notice what is still kind of hanging on. Just take a breath and let those old computers representing aspects of that paradigm that still kind of hold you. Just let those appear. And just notice if any of them are labeled. Maybe it says right on it what the aspect of the paradigm is for you. Or maybe you just know. You know what it's about. So maybe there's one about it being small. Maybe there's one about being self-sufficient. Maybe there's one about being convenient for other people. And maybe it's something else entirely. Just notice what it is for you. What aspect of this judgment paradigm is sticky for you? And then just be curious about what would it feel like? Just unplug from that computer. To unplug from that paradigm. Remembering that whatever it is arose out of an interaction with a human. Just notice, is there a specific interaction that comes to mind? And what was going on with that human when that interaction happened? There might be something that was going on that you didn't even know about. Maybe that person had their own fears that they were acting out. Maybe they were just really tired. Maybe they were upset about something that you didn't even know had happened. Maybe they were just acting on their own conditioning without thinking it through. And just be curious about what was the context in which you developed this idea or judgment. And let's see, was there anything in that interaction that was actually about you? Because maybe none of it was. And if there was, is there, I don't know, a different way to look at that? A bigger picture around that? And just see what comes around that. And just see whether you can find a place of forgiveness, both for yourself and the other person, knowing that you were both just doing the best that you could. And just ask the Akashic beings to bring in any energy that might help with that. Any light, love, truth energy that might help you see it in a different context. And now, just leaving that to one side for a moment. We're also going to ask the Akashic beings to show you something about the bigger truth of you. So maybe they have an image to show you that represents something about the bigger truth of you. And then ask for an archetype or an avatar that represents something about the truth of you. And next, ask them for anything they have to show you about your mission, what your soul is about, what's important to you, what theme have you been working on or concentrating your life around. And now ask them to show you any particular gifts that you have, especially ones that are really relevant to you at this point in this lifetime. Something you might have forgotten that you knew, a skill you'd forgotten you had. And then ask them to show you something about your soul's specific journey, something about your path, especially something that gives context to your life right now. And then you can ask them, what's being called forth from you now? Now at this unique juncture in time. What's calling you forward? What would bring you joy? And just breathe through your awareness of all of that. Breathe through that joy that you can feel. Breathe through that remembering of these aspects of you, this bigger picture of who you are. And then from that place, you can turn and look back at those computers. Let's see, is there anything still there even? May it have all faded away by now. It might look way smaller. It might just not feel very relevant anymore. And just notice how that looks now. And if there's anything that does still seem active there, just ask to be shown. What would assist you in putting it into perspective? What would assist you in just letting it go? In being the creator being that you are? In feeling free to choose whatever your next adventure is? And ask them to show you that now. And just as we're finishing up, ask them if there's anything else they want to show you or tell you while you're here. And then thanking the Akashic beings. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here with us in this way, for helping us remember, for helping us attune to our divinity, to the breadth and depth of us and the truth of us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then bringing your awareness from the room of the computers back to your own heart, back to that nexus point of you and the earth energy and the cosmic energy. And then from the heart, bring your awareness back to the breath and back to the body, wiggling fingers and toes, stretching anything that's wanting to be stretched. And then bringing your awareness back to the room and opening your eyes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lisa, for the process. At some point, it's brought sense of relief when remembering our true self and when seeing the the screens or the computers again when coming back. So yeah, thank you for that. And everyone, would love to hear your feedback. You can type it on the chat. Annette, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, Annette. And yeah, so Lisa, thank you very much for everything you shared today. It was quite an inspiring call. So thank you also for the guidance you offer to our live callers. And yeah, would you like maybe to share any final message before we complete the session?
So the message that comes from the Akashic beings is, you are enough. You are everything already. Everything is in hand, and just trust you. Trust that you know the way.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Lisa. Yeah, it was a great pleasure and honor to have you with us. Thank you again for everything. Rita shared appreciation and love to all. Thank you, Rita. And yeah, so again, everyone, you can sign up for one of the packages that Lisa is offering to us on the page yourdivineuniqueness.com/Lisa31, yourdivineuniqueness.com, Lisa and number 31, LISA 31. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description and the chat boxes. And package A includes 50 minutes one-on-one reading from the Galactic Akashic records. And package B includes the 15 minutes one-on-one plus Galactic attunement process, the meditation connecting to the galactic grid, and the series Rewiring for New Earth. And yeah, so Deborah wrote, thank you so much, Lisa. Mandy, thank you. So yeah, again, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for the questions, for the comments. And yeah, so with that, I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye for now.